right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's start out with just getting a name and the company that you work for, and then we'll get into some specific questions. So, Keith, let's start with you.
Keith Garner, company that I work for. I am with Ogle Cosmetology School. I work in admissions.
Okay, and you're also?
And I'm also a designer with Business Minds.
Thank you.
Glad to have everybody here.
Thank you, Keith.
Okay, I am Tina Cummings. I'm known as Title Tina. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and Partner at Red Wine Law Firm.
Nice.
Thank you. I am Carrie Haskins, and I am with Keller Williams out of our Arlington office, and agent and coach.
Nice.
I am, well, first off, Keith is also the Executive Director of Marketing and Public Relations and PR for the Rundown, or the Runway. So, for Runway Dallas, the Runway. Sometimes he leaves that out, but I just want to make sure that. But my name is David Lee Richardson. I go by David Lee, and I'm the head of organizational leadership development for a company based out of Chicago called Harris & Harris.
Okay, awesome. So, Keith, hold on to the mic. We are going to kind of start with, since you all just introduced what businesses you work for, what companies you work for, I'd like to know how. No, actually, sorry. This is for.
You said
for
Keith. I was just looking.
He wears so many.
Forgive me. I'm looking right at you, David Lee. Keith.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know you were on the right career path, and when was it time to pivot, if pivot is applicable?
I think I just kind of fell into knowing that this is the right career path.
And remind us again, the
Yes,
business. Ogle?
Ogle School.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so tell us about that.
So a good part of what I do every day is basically going out to talk to high school seniors about life after high school.
Okay.
And just really trying to inspire them to find a pathway to, I do a presentation, it's called How to Make Your Passion Your Paycheck. Yeah, and how to find what you do, find what you love to do, and to do that for a living. Because I feel like if you're doing something that you love, and you're providing a service, then you're going to do it with your heart. And sometimes it's just trying to figure out what is that. So that's a lot of what I do.
Love that. Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Carrie, you work in real estate, but
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
also a coach, you mentioned.
Yes, ma'am.
And so what skills should young professionals be developing right now to stay competitive?
I think the main thing is drive and a self-awareness. One of my big things is being confident in what you do know and being confident in what you don't know.
Okay.
So if you're young and you're entering into an industry, be confident in the skills that you bring, but then also be confident in what you don't, and be education-based.
Okay.
Constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly becoming the bigger, better you that you can be.
All right. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So let's move to business building and growth. Tina, you are I was about to say something, but we'll keep it PG. But you're like,
PG,
yeah,
PG, girl.
you are a boss. Let's say that. In your field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Tina, how do you balance creativity? Because I see here you have a little style. How do you balance creativity with the operational demands of running a business?
Very carefully. And the creativity you see is actually my own design that I made,
Yes.
designed and made myself.
I love that.
How I balance it is I use a lot of tools, and I found that systems help me stay on track a lot. I actually have a little bit of ADHD, so I'm always all over the place. So I've found that systems work for me.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so David Lee, let's skip to you. Remind us again who you work for, or what it is that you do.
So I'm responsible for all of the organizational leadership development that happens there.
Okay.
So I work in a senior leadership position for a company called Harris & Harris, and everyone from the directors to the senior managers to the senior directors, all the way throughout the organization.
Okay.
I'm
awesome.
responsible for that.
Okay, so then what does executive presence mean to you, And how can someone develop it intentionally?
Executive develop it intentionally? I would say, first off, I'll take the second part of that question. I'd say, first off, it's advisable just to utilize some of the old school methods of mentorship, right? They say that leaders aren't born, but they're made, and I firmly believe that. So everyone here who has children, probably that would resonate with them as well,
Right.
because we put a lot of work into developing our children to be the kind of people that we want them to show up as in their adult life, right? And so if you're talking about executive presence for just about everybody on this panel here, everyone is a business owner,
Okay.
right? And so that puts you in a little bit of a different category. And so even business owners need mentors who have been places and done things that they've never done.
Sure.
In this particular Dallas-Fort Worth marketplace, it's like I don't think it's like a $546 billion industry here, right? So there's a lot of room for everybody to get their piece of the pie.
Yeah.
And so if we are all engaged in business and trying to, I think Keith mentioned earlier, about mentorship and how to get, your piece of that pie. I'm paraphrasing it a little bit, but how to get your piece of that pie.
Yeah.
It's advisable to speak with someone who's really kind of been there, right? And so executive presence, I really think, starts with that. But there's a nice little formula that I kind of think of when I think of executive presence, and it's a little simple acronym. It's OIL, oil, and O is for opportunity. So you can't take advantage of opportunities that you're not present for. So when you talk about executive presence, there are many people who are designers and business owners and do all of the things that we do in this professional industry, but they don't really avail themselves to what's happening in the market. So, right, when you talk about oil, it's about being, it's about being available, right? The I is image. When you talk about executive presence, like it or not, in this particular industry, Reese especially understand that more than probably most, is that people judge you based off of what they see.
Okay.
And so image is, I is for image, which is, it's how you show up.
Sure.
It's how you are perceived, right? When you talk about executive presence, what is that initial thing that people get when they meet you? How do they feel when they're around you? How do they feel when your name comes up or when your face shows up? That's that I, is image. Image it's not only how people perceive you, but when you talk about executive presence is also about how you perceive things. It is how you are perceived and how you perceive.
Yes.
Right? And you have to have a great deal of situational awareness and emotional intelligence in order to show up authentically in a way where people really kind of resonate with what's going on with you.
Gotcha.
Right? So I think we put a lot of emphasis on the executive piece, but presence has a lot to do with it.
Sure.
Executive presence. Who are you when you show up? And then the L is, I think that just, for me, it just kind of stands for leap. Because there are many people who are probably tuned into this, this thing is going to get broadcasted for the next million years as long as this social media is available, right? So someone maybe 5 years from now was watching this and maybe they're in a different country.
Sure.
And they have the same passion that these business owners have, but they lack that initiative to take that leap.
Okay.
And so the world never knows them. It never sees their designs. It never hears their voice. It never understands their creativity, because they're either missing the O, which is opportunity, the I, which is the image, or the L, which means they never take initiative. They never make that leap.
Okay.
And so for me, those are some of the things that encompass executive presence.
Let's use the OIL acronym to segue into the fashion industry. So I have a question for Tina. Thank you for that, David Lee. What major shifts are you seeing in the fashion industry right now? And how should emerging designers or creatives prepare for them?
What I'm seeing emerge in the industry right now is, like the young man that was here earlier was saying, people are becoming better storytellers. And they're finding more creative ways to connect to their audience. What I absolutely love, I tell my clients, this is the best time for you to be a business owner and the best time to be a fashion designer with social media, because you get an opportunity to reach people and an audience that otherwise you wouldn't have access to.
Okay.
So I would say that the trend I'm seeing is effective storytelling. And you guys, I heard so many of you mention about your brand. And that's something that some people don't actually know how to do. There's 4 V's to it. There's visibility,
Okay.
value, visuals, and I can't remember my fourth one, voice.
Okay.
Those are the 4 things. And if you do those things consistently and you're disciplined, you can actually get your brand out there.
Awesome. Okay, so Carrie, so let's piggyback off of these 4 V's.
Sounds good. They all sounded really
Right.
smart, so don't ask
I'm
me
loving-
anything too difficult, okay?
I love alliteration or acronyms, so I'm like, yes.
I know. I'm sitting here going, what acronym can I possibly?
Okay, so I'll get you off the hook. Okay, I'll
Thank
get you off the hook.
Thank you.
So back to what you do, right? And you wear a lot of hats as well.
Yes, ma'am.
With real estate, though, especially in this climate, with the volatility in the economy, how things are, just volatility across the board. Okay. So how do you maintain confidence and clarity? So what I was about to say was all this volatility
Right.
also affects the housing market, right?
Absolutely.
Would you say it is a buyer's market or a seller's market at this point?
So we are leaning very much into a buyer's market.
Okay.
We absolutely are.
Okay, so a buyer's market. So how do you maintain confidence and clarity when making tough decisions in the real estate business within this volatility?
Honesty. Honesty is the best way to go about it. Unfortunately, with volatility, you have to have very strong, large conversations and important conversations. And that is conversations that are not fun. And the best way to go about those conversations is with transparency and honesty.
Okay.
It's making sure that somebody understands where their money is, where it's going, how it's going to be divided up, and making sure that someone has a firm understanding of that. Educating our clients, educating your, I think of anything. I mean, you were talking about a different industry, but making sure that they're educated on what decisions they're making so that they can make ones that are best for their families, best for themselves. And that is through honest, sometimes difficult conversations.
Thank you for that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure.
Because it just occurs to me that a lot of what we're talking about is just, it can apply easily to the fashion industry, right? Because some of these things, they are transferable, right? When you talk about, like the question you asked earlier about what do young people need to do in order to maintain their competitiveness,
Yeah.
Moving forward, and you talk about what are some of the things people need to do in order to, deal with the volatility that's happening, right? And I love your answer because you talked about education. And I think that as designers, that we had a discussion earlier, was talking about not being boxed in,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And allowing your creativity really just to be authentic and to
Sure.
flow.
Sure.
So I think that in addition to that, where you're talking about education, there's still something to be said about really being educated and being knowledgeable about your craft, right? To the extent that you stand out,
Yeah.
right? You stand out. You're set apart. Because if someone is coming to you and, like we had a discussion earlier, Marcella was saying, that someone is looking for a seamstress. Marcella says, listen, I understand my lane, and that isn't an area that I even care to be educated in.
Right.
And so I think that as designers and as creatives and even as models, right, we have to study, right? We have to be extremely educated. Carrie says that it's a buyer's market, right? That's something that she would have to really be plugged into the industry to know. And so when it comes to fashion, right, it's more than just putting on a fancy outfit. It's more than just throwing together an avant-garde type, a piece, right? But it's about really, truly owning that market, owning it in a way that differentiates you. And how do you do that? Well, you do have to be educated. You have to move beyond the U.S. You have to look at what's happening over in Japan in terms of fashion,
Sure.
right? You have to take a strong look at AI and how AI is influencing
Sure.
every aspect of society today. So,
Yeah, you can't, you have to build on education. So you have to build your foundation. You have to understand what you, like I kind of said from the get-go, you have to know where you do know and what you don't, and then find out how to get that to you. And that is surrounding yourself by other people. I think another lady on the previous panel was saying that it's not that you're against other people. It's that what can I bring to you? What can you bring to me? And what can we do together to make this work and collaborative? Yeah. And so, and that's education. That's being honest. That's being honest with yourself, being honest with others. That's growing always.
Sure. So let's piggyback on education and honesty. And I'm going to ask a question of Keith and put this in the realm of fashion as a designer. What mistakes do you see new fashion entrepreneurs make when launching their brand?
I think sometimes, from what I've seen, it may not be universal for everyone, but I think is they don't maybe try to learn from other mistakes.
Don't learn from other mistakes, which kind of it's kind of a not getting that education or that knowledge base, would you say?
Yeah, because experience as well as book knowledge is also being educating yourself as well. Like with myself, I mentioned the story about working with the brand ambassador, and that experience changed my life because the person that I was working with, I was really influenced by. I admired, and I thought I was in a position where I was going to put myself to be to learn from someone else until that relationship stopped, and I realized I was like, okay, this is not good, but this is good. Because if someone else can do it, I can do it too. And if I can just maybe take some of the things I have learned from this individual, as well as learning from others, and that birth business minds, So yeah, life experience, I think, can teach you a lot too.
Thank you for that. Sure.
I think the thing that I see is that they haven't identified who they are actually designing for and who their audience is.
Okay.
I think that there's, in some instances, they see a designer and then they try to imitate that, and they're not really authentic to themselves. And so they don't really build their brand, and you never really get a idea of their voice and their personality.
Yeah.
So their story doesn't come through. It tends to look like everyone else's, when what people really want today, they really want authenticity, you guys. I'm serious. They really want to get to know you. They want to connect with you, okay? So when you tell your story, you're going to create a connection. That connection is going to create loyalty. And then that loyalty is going to create you a community. And that's what strong brands have. They have a community.
I love that. Yeah, sure.
Sorry. We're just piggybacking all
that's
over
what-
this.
hey, makes it easier for me.
Yeah, I hear you. But what's cool about that too is that's how you stay in love with what you're doing, is when you figure out, when you're not trying to imitate somebody else, when you're not trying to fit into the box like they were talking about before, but you are true to who you are, and you're true to your idea, then you stay in love with your career for a lot longer, and you are able to find yourself in that a lot more.
Sure.
And that goes, I'm not in fashion, and I'm not going to tell you where I got my stuff from or any. I did not design this. Just so you know, it was not. I did put it together, so
There you
you're
go.
welcome. But in my industry, there's a lot of, I'm in real estate. There's a lot of people that need to buy and sell and everything else. But I work with certain types of people. I'm drawn to them. They're drawn to me, and it makes life a lot easier. And I can stay in love with what I'm doing because I'm not trying to impress everybody. There will be those one-offs or whatever, but I look at some of the designers that were up here earlier, and you can see that they're all different, and they all have a different uniqueness to them,
Sure.
which makes them all beautiful.
Yeah.
And when you're going back to the AI part of things. That's one thing that I kind of have been talking when I'm coaching people, is that's one thing that you can use AI for, is say, tell it your story, and then it will tell you who you're likely to attract. And that can go for fashion, that can go for any type of business.
Right.
Finding your niche and what's going to make you stand out from the rest of everybody else.
Awesome. So thank you for mentioning AI. David Lee also mentioned AI. Tina mentioned connection and community, which also people are seeking through the social media where AI can show up. So let me ask some questions. If I can ask David Lee first, how is AI current? And this is in the industry or in general. How is AI currently impacting your industry? And what changes do you expect in the next 1 to 3 years, or 2 to 3 years?
So I would say it's the impact is much quicker than that. So I had the opportunity to attend a symposium about 2 weeks ago or so, and the entire symposium was about AI and its impact on the corporate industry.
Okay.
And one of the execs from Dell was there and just kind of sharing a story about how the president of Dell sent out an email to all of the execs. And if you know anything about Dell, Dell's massive, right? Dell Computers is massive. They are global. One of the leaders in technology on the planet, right? Most people just think, Apple, but Dell is doing some pretty amazing things. And the email went out saying to the execs that if you aren't incorporating AI into your business strategy and how you're managing your departments, turn in your resignation. Right? And so this was at one of the local universities. It's a business school, local university. And what they were sharing is that many of their graduates who are graduating from college are finding it difficult to find employment because many of the companies that they're applying to are looking for individuals that have skills with AI. And so they've started up a startup program there as part of their curriculum. And so I would say that working in corporate America, someone who's responsible for working with the leadership that come into the company and helping them to develop all sorts of professional skills that you're expected to have at that level, that we recently hired someone at the company, and he's earning somewhere just south of $200,000 a year, heading up the AI strategy for the company. And so at this particular symposium, this exec was sharing that the way, at the speed at which AI is coming on and the changes that it's making, the impact that it's having, she says that individuals are going to need to be upskilled in the next 1 to 2 years for smaller companies, but maybe 2 to 3 years for larger companies.
Okay.
And they're using things like Claude, and everybody talks about ChatGPT. We know that Microsoft has its program out there called Copilot. Many designers are using those tools for marketing, right? So I would say not just my industry, but across the board in almost all industries that we look at, AI is present. It's present.
Thank you for that. So AI can feel overwhelming, right? It can feel scary. People still don't really know what AI is. So there's still a lot of ambiguity associated with AI, but it's also very popular now. It's there, right? And so people are trying to figure out how to use it. So I'm gonna ask Carrie. We're just gonna go down the thing here. What are practical ways small businesses, can start using AI today without feeling overwhelmed? What are your thoughts about that?
I feel like we're up here talking about the first time that the internet came out, and in like 10 years they're going to look back and be like, wow, they were so silly. It's like, have you ever heard of www?
Yeah.
I feel like we're at that point of it,
Right.
and there were a lot of people that fought it, and they got knocked out. And we can go through the blockbuster scenarios, and we can look at some of those different things. And so it is definitely something that you do need to get a grip on.
You're right.
It's not something that I feel right now that is going to replace the individual in us.
Okay.
I had a client the other day that said, hey, just so you know, I put this into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT told me that this is the offer we should make. And I was like, that's super cute. But so I know a little bit about this, and that's not going to work. And what was really amazing is that within 24 hours, I was proven right. It didn't work, and they laughed at us. And when I say laughed at us, they laughed at me through email, and here we are. And so we went back to the drawing board, and I said, okay, now do we want to listen to what I have to say about this?
Right.
And politely, obviously, but we have to know that AI is going to step in. It is going to be a competitor, in a sense, within all of our industries.
Sure.
But our professionalism, going back to the, I feel like a broken record, but going back to the education, going back to the honesty, going back to the realness, going back to all of those things, and working together with AI is what we need to be working on. And small businesses, large businesses, whomever it may be, need to understand what parts of their business they can use to grow them, and what parts of their business they need to stay in and not give away to AI.
You can add to that, and I love your story, because with AI there's expediency and there's streamlining, but that human capital, it doesn't go away, and so that's kind of what make AI not be so scary, is that it still needs us as humans. David Lee?
It's very true. You know, AI, you can just utilize it just as an assistant for now anyway, right? Until it becomes really aware. But I love what you're saying, because it is exactly what the industry experts are saying.
Okay.
That AI is taking on a lot of those mundane tasks that maybe you would pass off to someone, that maybe you don't have time to do, and AI is pretty efficient with doing those types of things. Maybe if you're crunching data, if you're, maybe developing videos and things like that for marketing, that kind of thing. But the industry experts are saying that with the rise of AI and its effectiveness in helping companies, individuals, to be more proficient, right, and to be more productive at what they do, that we have to be better at being human. And so now the leading skills that they are searching for in corporations are soft skills, right? People who have situational awareness.
Yeah.
People who know how to relate to people, right? People who know how to de-escalate. People who know how to connect.
Yeah.
Because in this day, since the dawn of COVID, where everybody went home, and shut themselves in behind closed doors, looking at four walls, people have lost connection, especially with our cell phones and all the technology. People find it difficult to connect. And so when they take on these jobs and these roles within our companies, right, as assistants, whatever roles they may be performing, whether in the fashion industry or in corporate America, it doesn't matter. A lot of these individuals that we are employing lack those social skills.
Yeah.
And so those managers and supervisors are going to have to be really good at being human. And that's something that AI just, isn't quite able to do.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Sure.
So working in the beauty industry is something that we tell students that it's going to be a long time before AI is good at physical manipulation. And then I turn around and I joke and I say, David Lee, I don't even think if I would want a robot to cut my hair anyway,
Oh, we never get to that point.
But as we're all saying, like that human touch, that interaction, that's something that is just, it's irreplaceable.
Yeah. Tina, you mentioned, did you want to speak on that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Because I use AI agents, and I'm a huge fan of Claude Cowork. And it's very efficient for me because I get hundreds of emails a day. But in the morning, I've got it set up to where it'll go through my email, put the most important ones at the top, tell me whose files are closing. So it just is like my assistant.
Yeah.
But that personal touch, like they said, I deal with a lot of agents that use AI for making their videos and things like that. So the ones that are doing that solely, I tell them, I said, you know what? The agent that takes the time to get in front of the camera is going to outbrand you and outsell you. Because people are going to get so desensitized. I don't know about you guys, but when I call a company and I get an automated system, it just makes me so frustrated. I want a person. And that's going to be what we're going to witness even with AI. That's so make sure you do not lose that human capital.
Yes, that's right. So we have some models in the room and some designers and things like that. So I'm going to stick with you, Tina. How can creatives use technology, and you mentioned this before about authenticity, especially on social media. How can creatives use technology without losing authenticity?
That's easy. Just any of you in here right now, just get on your, Marcella knows me, I'm an impromptu person. Turn your phone on. Just get on there. I got on the other day, just putting on my makeup and started talking. People, and I was like, well, it gets more views than when I'm all dolled up. Okay, let me just do that and try that. Now, don't get out the shower, y'all, and do all that. No, we're not trying to start OnlyFans up in here, okay? We're not trying to do that. But, okay? But, I might have to start me one to get some gas around here.
She's a firecracker. You have to watch out for her.
It costs $90 to fill up my car. You hear me? I might have to get me a side hustle around here. But no, there's so many things for technology, you guys. You can program. Like for me, I prefer, I don't even want to tell you what I spend a month on these AI tools. But I found that each one is good at certain things. For Claude, I use Claude a lot for my marketing. I use Chat just to give me an overview. I use Perplexity when I'm trying to do some deep research. And I use Gemini to create images. So all of those things, and I use Leonardo AI to create images as well. But it is about you using those tools and training these AIs to have your voice. And you can do that. You can really do it. It works really well in Claude, okay? So that's what I would actually tell you to do as far as the technology. And just don't be afraid to get in front of the camera. Don't be afraid to talk to your audience, because this is one thing I tell everybody. I am not everybody's cup of tea, but that's okay because I prefer coffee anyway. So y'all just remember that. You will vibe with your tribe.
Love that.
Sorry, I'm stealing that because
So
I'm not everybody's cup of tea
either. We have acronyms, alliteration.
I know.
And now we got bar.
And now we've got, I mean, man, oh man. And it's all three of them like me. I'm like, I've got a couple of jokes, but I think they're not appropriate for right now. But, no, okay, got it. No, I couldn't, I agree with you so much. Like it is, yeah, I don't know how I could even add something that you just said, but using it to grow you and to get there. Oh, that's what you were talking about. You were talking about getting in front of the camera. I don't like getting in front of the camera at all. Like I used to break out in hives. That's why I wear higher neck shirts and stuff. But it's really not that bad. Like no one has come, I get in front of the cameras and no one yet, there's still room for growth, but no one yet has come on there and just been like, oh my God, you are so ugly and so stupid. Get off of here.
Yeah.
No one's done it yet. Now, there's a possibility. If I get a bigger following, it may happen, but I don't care about them. You know, like the people that I need to be in front of, the people that want to hear from me, the people that I can influence. I'm not trying to be an influencer, okay,
Gotcha.
but that I can influence to do the right things and to move in the right directions. They're paying attention.
Yeah.
And they didn't care that, you know, my hair was a mess or that my, you know, something was weird. I have decided that I'm not cutting any of my videos. You can tell just by the however many minutes we've been up here, I talk and say weird things. It's just who I am.
And we love you for it.
And you know, it's taken me a while to be this perfect, okay? And very flawed. And I will just say those things, and those people then realize, okay, I'm not being fake up there. I'm being me. I'm being human. I say weird things. I say things that I will sit there and think about for the next 4 months. Like I said, how did I said, you know, but I put it out there because that's just who I am.
Well,
and it's okay.
Yeah, it's so funny because you're answering a question that I was going to ask.
Well, I read your notes earlier.
Which was, what's one unconventional strategy that you've used that actually worked? And it sounds like you're
being me. It's being
it's
me.
working for you.
Yeah,
so.
It's being me because I'm not you. You went to what kind of meeting did you go to? I don't think I've never been invited to any kind of symposiums of any kind. I don't even know what letter that starts with. Is that anyway? That's just not me, you know. And so being me is not everyone's cup of tea, and it's okay. I like coffee, but being you, being who you are, being authentic. We're talking about fashion. We're talking about, you know, and and whoever's watching this can't see some of the beautiful people in the room and the beautiful one that just walked in. And it's the uniqueness and it's the beauty that is them. And that's what we need to get into.
You know, particularly for this industry, you know, you can't afford to be afraid.
And that industry is what again?
This is the fashion industry, right? I mean, in this industry, we're talking to an audience of creatives, right? Who not only set bars, but they create bars, right? Creatives create bars. And so if there's a new technology that's being introduced, I would say if you're finding some challenge with really embracing it, I would challenge you to reach down inside and that core part of you that makes you who you are in this industry, right? They talk about public speaking is one of the greatest fears out of all the things that people could do, right? And then being on stage is not too far behind that. And what better way to overcome those kinds of fears than walking the runway?
There you go.
Right? What better way to overcome those kinds of fears than reaching deep inside, materializing, visualizing a design, and then, you know, sitting in front of that sewing machine, right? And then creating that and then putting it out there for the world to consume, not knowing what they're going to say. So I would say if you're struggling with embracing this technology, like you were talking about earlier, I feel like maybe this is the dawn of the internet back in WWW when everybody was villainizing it. I would say reach down inside to that real, true creative part of you that makes you who you are in this industry and tackle the latest technology. It's no more difficult to understand and ultimately master that than it is to slay that walkway, that runway.
I love that. Go. Hey, stick with that. Can you keep the mic for a second? Because I want to stay in this fashion vein that we're in right now. We segued into it. So I want to ask you this, and then I want to ask Keith as well. How important is storytelling in fashion branding, and what does effective storytelling look like in 2026?
I think the world over is encased in storytelling. I mean, just look at the entertainment industry, right? If you're talking about sports, what are they doing out on those fields, whether it's a basketball field or on the football field or on the hockey field, right? They're telling a story that we all dial into, the baseball teams. They're telling a story, who's the greatest. And people get so enthralled into that they, you know, they develop favorite teams and paint themselves and, you know, all orange and blue because they're living those stories that they believe. And so I think that storytelling it's paramount for who we are and what we do because that's what resonates with people.
Yeah.
That's how we're wired.
And it also contributes to that human capital, right? And that authenticity.
Yeah.
Keith, how about you? How important is storytelling in fashion branding? And what does the effective storytelling look like to you in 2026?
Very important, because if you don't tell your story, what you have is just a bunch of duplicates of a lot of other copycats.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think you just have to really, as David Lee said, you know, you have to just dig deep and find out how you want to tell your story. And sometimes that means doing it without a blueprint. You know, you just have to do it and just tell your story, because there's somebody out there that is going to relate to your story.
Some kind of way.
Some kind of way. And you don't know who that person is going to be, but there's somebody that will gravitate to your story. It's just like brands, you know. Some people may like some brands over the other, but there's something about just being able to tell your authentic story.
Yeah. Sure.
I want the panel that was here. I'm going to give a very good example of the effectiveness of storytelling. I remember, I'm sorry for those of you that are still designers in the room, but you know who I remember? And I remember his name. It was Christian. I think he was at the end. Mm-hmm. You know why I remembered him? Because I remember his story. Mm-hmm. He told me exactly what his line was about, and that was about building and edifying the kingdom. But do you know why? He made me feel something. That's what's effective when you're doing a story. If you can connect with somebody on an emotional level and you can make them feel something, they're going to remember you. Now, everybody up here was talented. Marcella, you, everybody. But the story I connected to the most was that young man because of the way he made me feel.
I love
And
that.
that's the key with effective storytelling.
Well, you also just kind of answered a question that I was going to ask. But so if you want to expand on it, by all means, how do you lead teams effectively in high-pressure, fast-moving industries, maybe like fashion and business? What are your thoughts?
I'm kind of I'm very disciplined, but at the same time, I always kind of make lighthearted of some things. So I try to lead first with love and kindness and trying to understand where they're coming from. Because I do have a team, and I know sometimes we have pressing deadlines. So a lot of prayer. I don't drink. I may have to take it up pretty soon.
Maybe you can get AI to drink for you.
Maybe I can get AI to drink for me. But I'm learning again having a lot of systems and processes in place.
Sure.
But it's difficult because when you manage people, you have to take into account that they have certain things going on in their life that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And so I have learned to really keep those things in mind. Because even though I may have a deadline and I have, a balance sheet and expenses that need to be made, I may be dealing with someone that just has a terminal ill parent, which I just had that case.
Yeah.
So you just never know what a person is going through.
Sure.
So I guess I could say I lead carefully and mindfully.
Yes. And you also, what was your answer before? And you also, what did you say to the? What did you say before that? When you were piggybacking off
About
Keith.
how they feel.
How they feel, and
How
you're
they
listening
feel.
to how they feel.
I keep in mind how they feel. That's very important.
Yeah. David Lee, let's hear from you. Same question. How do you lead teams effectively in high-pressure, fast-moving industries, maybe like fashion or business?
The first thing that comes to my mind is authenticity. I mean, let's just face it, people will get used to whoever you are, right? Even if they don't really like who you are, at least if you're consistent in that, right? They kind of know what to expect.
That's right.
Right? And so, I mean, there are 8 billion people on the planet. And, I think it's just important to be you, to be original, to be you, and to continue to grow and develop. But I think you have to be authentic. That's one, right? And then 2, you have to continue to grow. You have to continue to develop. You got to read. You got to follow individuals that know what they're talking about.
Okay.
Right? Because no man is an island and nobody knows it all. And so if you're going to be effective with leading teams, some of the things like what our panelist here is talking about, that situational awareness, right? Which is one of the components of emotional intelligence, being able to be in control of who you are to the extent that you can really truly connect with other people and where they are and not be so self-enthralled or self-consumed, with the things that you're going through, that you are leading people, more like dragging people, because you're not really connected to what's going on with them. Mm-hmm. So I think authenticity, and I'll go back to what I talked about earlier, is mentorship. Everybody needs someone who can look you in the eye and say, hey, you are acting crazy. I don't know what you were thinking, but that's probably not how you really want to engage with XYZ.
Sure.
So you need mentorship, someone that can kind of, hold you accountable for certain things.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, you really have to be.
Carrie, for you're in the business where you have a certain level of autonomy, right? So what strategies have helped you consistently generate new business or client?
My industry is very volatile. We kind of discussed that. So I think my thing is I'm always looking to help people. Okay. One of the things that you were kind of saying just a minute ago that it hit me is that I think there's a lot of people that are talking, but they're not listening. And I was talking to a young man the other day, and he said that he was making phone calls and he's trying to build business.
Yeah.
And he said, so, I ask him this question, and then I wait a minute for them to answer, and then I get into what I have to tell them. And I said, well, you're gonna. I said, how is that working for you?
Yeah.
I said, is that working well? And I said, how many appointments have you gotten off of that? And he said, well, I haven't gotten any yet. And I said, okay. I said, let's try this. I said, say hi, say, how are you doing? And then listen to them. And stop trying to make the whole world yours in every single moment. You need to listen to people. In my industry, there's people that are, right now we're in a buyer's market. So with the sellers, there's people that thought that they were going to, when they bought the house, they were going to make money and they were going to be building equity off of their homes. And now they need to move. And that's not the case. And so they're either coming to the table with cash to sell their homes, or they are breaking pretty much even after being in their homes for the time that they thought they would be building equity.
Yeah.
And so I don't need to interject what I want to tell them in that conversation. I need to hear what they have to say. I need to hear where they're at. I need to have empathy for their situation, and I need to listen to them. And then I need to be the chameleon, and I need to see how I can best get them through this situation, whether it's a hard one or not. It's my job to make sure that I hold their hand through the entire situation. So how I get clients and how I continue to build my business is by listening, is by meeting people where they are, meeting them where they are at that moment and helping guide them through whatever they are, wherever they are, and making sure that they're taken care of throughout it.
I love that. Yeah. So let's transition from personal to business. Tina, what branding elements do you believe every business must get right from day one?
Their branding, their mission statement, and their value. They need to know who they are talking to and what they're going to deliver. So many people put too much emphasis on their logo, and people don't really care about that. I mean, they don't. It's great if you do that. I've seen people put lots of money into the logo. But at the core of it, what is your value proposition? What is it that you have to offer and to bring to the table?
Okay. I love that. Yeah. We're going to end with one question for everyone. So, Tina, since you have the mic, what's the smartest investment a new business owner can make in their first year?
I'm going to say, like what I did in my first year of business for myself. I invested a lot into education. I invested a whole lot of money into education and getting ready to take 10 more hours of education and then another 20 on top of that because things are constantly changing. So that is the biggest investment you can make. Learn everything you need to know about it, okay. Whatever industry you're in. And if you're in fashion design, learn drafting, learn AI, learn 3D printing, which is a big deal now. That's the best advice, I think. That's the best investment you can make. Because guess what that is, you guys? That's an investment in yourself. And one thing I've always told my boys, my sons, they can take everything else away from you, but they cannot take away your knowledge.
That's right. That's right.
Mugs. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm like, it seems like everybody that enters into a business, they get the clicky pens and they get the mugs and the business cards and
did you see? Now they're set.
Yeah, the notepads. And I'm like, did you see my new cup? It has a lid with a straw that says this thing. I'm like, sounds good. Sounds good. Everybody's got a box of them at the house. I think the number one thing, I'm going to go with education. I'm going to go with coaching. I'm going to go with having somebody look from the outside in. Yes, I'm biased to a coach, but at the same time, I always go back. There's this guy that played basketball. His name's Michael Jordan. You've heard of him? Okay. I didn't know. Have you heard? Okay. So everybody knows about him, right? One of the things and one of the stories that I heard him talking about was that he would get there before everybody else, and he would stay longer than anyone else, yeah. And he would stand on the free throw line, and he would do the exact same shot every single time. And he would have a coach sit there, like he didn't do it on his own. He would have a coach stand there and watch him and say, you broke your wrist, or you bent your knees different that time, or something. because there's a lot of people that when they get into business, they have this muscle memory that they create, and they are failing so slowly that they think that they're succeeding.
Yeah.
And so having somebody else watch them and say, hey, you were doing good, but if you just made this one adjustment,
Sure.
something better is going to happen with you. And I think that that is what they need to do. Educate and have somebody, if it's mentor, coach, something.
Okay.
Everything that they said, I'll go with what they said. I'm going to answer it in a little different way. Because I think when you're trying to do something new and you're trying to learn, and you don't know everything, I always tell the students I talk to, like, please give yourself some grace, you know. It's okay to not know everything, you know. Some doors that close, I'm actually glad that they closed. Because it changed the trajectory in me learning something completely different had I still been trying to go through that door.
Okay.
You know, but had I not given myself some grace, I might have still been trying to knock on that door. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. And so, David Lee, if you can.
It's such a good question.
Yes.
You know, I think about, well, first off, I agree 100% with everything everyone is stating, because I almost could just say ditto. You know, in corporate America, one of the things that they ask you for when you take on when you're interviewing for a senior leadership type position, particularly an executive position, right? And it's no different than if you're taking on a business, is they ask you, what is your 30, 60, 90-day plan?
Okay.
Right? And across the board, you know, no matter what industry you're in, most of that 30 and 60 is going to be spent learning. Because it's impossible to be effective in a business maybe you've never done before if you don't understand it. So when you say educate, right, that's I mean, I think that's very important. So you don't end up building this chicken coop thinking that you're building this mansion at the end of the year, right? When you've been using chicken wire the whole year, right? When there's something different that could be used in order to build your business. So I would say educate.
Okay.
And I want to transition just a little bit when you talk about like models, because the individuals who are consuming this content, they're probably walking a runway, they're probably wearing someone's design.
Okay.
Right? And so it's about being educated about what they do, even in their first year, going beyond just walking the runway, understanding what designers look for in models so that maybe you could fit that bill when there is a casting call, right? The other thing too is, and that 30, 60, 90, it's about follow-up. So it's about reassessing. So in that first year, get educated. Don't be so hard on yourself if you're going down a path that doesn't really work for you. So if you have to recreate or reinvent yourself, many artists do that all the time.
Yeah.
Right? They'll reinvent themselves. And businesses do that all the time too, right? They'll do quarterly business reviews to see where are we now, okay? Are we on track to hit the trajectory of annual, revenue that we're hoping to generate this year? If not, what adjustments do we need to make? So I would say they should do that. And then probably the most important thing, and many of the business owners talk about this, and this will resonate with probably every business owner in here, is you have to be careful that as creatives and as designers, that you spend quite a bit of time working on your business and not just in your business. Now, I know this isn't the first time that many people have heard this, but what you want to avoid being is a practitioner in the craft that you're taking up as a business owner. So if all you're going to do is just model and you never put in the work to really understand the business of modeling, then I would tell you you're not a business owner. You're a model.
You're an employee.
You're an employee. And so you have to put in the work, in working on your business. If you're in business and you're not on LinkedIn and you're only on the other social media networks like Facebook and Instagram, then I would say that you're limiting the audience that you're appealing to. And most of that audience will celebrate you, but most of that audience will almost never invest in you. That audience generally helps you to get rich through viewership. But if you're in business and you see yourself as a legitimate business owner or someone that's trying to do something in the industry, whether you're a designer, whether you're, a supplier within the industry, whether you're a model, there's so many different, in this ecosystem that support what we do in terms of fashion, that you should know that the money is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
The investors are there. The presidents are there, right? The business owners are there. And so if you could do one thing after you left tonight and talking about, what do you do in the first year? I would say tonight, go home and set up your LinkedIn profile.
That's it.
And make sure it's professional.
Yeah.
And then make connections that make sense. You should be connected to people who are in broadcast.
Okay, so expand on that a little bit more. I'm loving what you're saying here. So for models, designers, stylists, how would speak to the LinkedIn part of that as far as them building themselves or building a profile on that type of platform?
They have some paid services out there that will do two things. They'll develop your resume and they'll help develop your LinkedIn profile. Ask me how I know. Paid a ton of money and it was worthless.
Okay.
Yeah, it was worthless. But
Okay. For those of you that may be limited on budget because you are model students, use AI. Get you, if you've got really good skills with prompting, AI will actually do the same thing. But I do want to caution you on this because I have to tell this to agents. You cannot post the same content that you post on Facebook, Instagram, on LinkedIn. It's a whole different audience.
Yeah.
So you guys have to always remember to not only think about demographics, but you have to think about the psychographics of the audience that you're actually speaking to.
Yeah.
So make sure that your content is relevant. You can't, I see so many people make that mistake. They hit, they use the schedulers and they posted the same thing to everything. No, you cannot.
Yeah.
They all have different voices. You have exactly 3 seconds to get someone's attention on TikTok. Pretty soon it's going to be 1 second. But you have 3. LinkedIn is more, it's very professional. And so your voice has to be that way, like David said.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want your TikTok videos on LinkedIn. That's not the same thing.
They are
No.
not transferable.
No, they're not duck facing and peacing out on LinkedIn. That's not where that goes.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay, but
Yeah.
but seriously though, so it sounds, LinkedIn doesn't really sound like for the young person game, right?
Well-
So how do we speak to that?
I and not to disagree, but I'm going to.
Yeah,
The LinkedIn is for the professional. LinkedIn
And
is
you
for
can
the
be young and
professional.
professional.
And absolutely young and professional, absolutely. But you want to also, LinkedIn is where you're going to put your professional out there. So if we were going fashion and design, that's where you're going to have like your resume type things
Sure,
on there.
sure.
Okay. Where you are walking and doing other stuff or doing like the trend.
Yeah.
That's going to be more on the video type
Right.
social media. So your TikToks and your Instagrams and everything. But you want to get in front of as many different people as you can. So you do need to make sure that you are, here I'm kind of going off track, but if you go with AI, you can put a photo of yourself or an image of you walking or a design that you came up with and ask it, I need you to put this into a professional LinkedIn. I need this to be a TikTok video. I need this to be Instagram. I need this to be Facebook.
Yeah.
And it will help design that for you. And what's easy is that you can make it a template. You can make it templated. Is that a word? I think I just made that up. I'll call Webster after this and I'll have him put it in
We're
the
on
book.
your side.
And so you can put it all out there
Yeah.
and make it work for every single thing. So some of these people get so overwhelmed by just doing social and just doing that. And that's not our job. My job is not social media. I'm not an influencer.
And I think that's what I meant by young. They seem
Yes.
to be more towards the social media.
Yes, and you know but social media is needed. It is absolutely needed, and it's one of my favorite F words. It's free. It's good. It's free, you know,
love that.
and so it is something that it's time.
Yeah.
And that's where the cost is.
Sure.
That's why we now have the ability to use AI so that cost of your time is a lot less, but you're still out there doing it. And so, you know, I can't, I really, really think that people need to make sure that they are out there. They're putting themselves young, experienced, we're not going to call them old, experienced, seasoned folks. Everybody needs to do it. Everybody needs to get on it. Everybody can do it. So don't limit yourself and say that you're not
Sure.
there. Don't limit yourself to age. Don't limit yourself to industry. Don't limit yourself to anything.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Great advice about the connections you can make on LinkedIn, even as a model.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
and think outside the box. Here's the other thing: is that for me, for real estate, a lot of people look at buyers, sellers, this kind of thing. That's not where a lot of people are until they are.
Okay.
So they're not looking at buying until they're ready to buy. So I want to get in front of families. I want to resonate to their life. We were talking about the human part of it.
Yeah.
I want to resonate to where they go out to dinner. You know, I'm a mom. I have 4 kids. I've got sports and everything else.
Yeah.
So I want to resonate to other people that are similar to that.
Sure.
Where we're at baseball practice and cheer, and we went to the 6th grade field trip today, and we've got dogs and all of those things. So I resonate to that because that's a human aspect of me. So don't just sit there and look at the obvious.
Sure.
Look at the things that are outside the box.
Yeah.
So designers and things like that, but also look at other professionals that are in the same industry. Look at other models.
Yeah.
Get in front of them. They may find you somewhere, you know, that you didn't know the door could have been open, that you didn't even realize that was out there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of ways that we could reconnect this entire conversation back into a lot of different things that we discussed.
Totally agreed. I mean, why would it make sense to connect with someone who's in Czechoslovakia, right? For you, because if you're trying to move your brand internationally, you're going to need those connections, right? And they're going to need to make sense. If you are participating in this weekend's fashion showcase, and I just kind of hit people between.
Okay, yeah.
You haven't, and you haven't invited the media out to come see you walk. You're missing the business end of this, right? So it's one thing to show up as a designer, but it's another thing to reach out to the business industry and say, hey, I represent this brand. I'm going to be walking for this designer, and I'm inviting you out, you know, for the showcase that's going to happen on Saturday. That comes from you. That doesn't come from the Runway.
Yeah.
Runway Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Because you're thinking like a business owner. You're working on your business. You're not just showing up, right, to work in the business, but you're working on it. So when the media does get there, you've already had those conversations with the execs within the company so that they know that they're coming. And you're going to have your cameo moment where you're interviewing and talking about the design for the designer that you're showcasing for, right? I mean, there's so many things that come to mind for me when we talk about being connected professionally. So it's something about the mindset that just has to change. I don't want to say change, but there's something about the mindset that has to be there in this particular profession, just like it is in any profession where you're making an investment of time, you know, or money, and you have to think like a business owner so you can get that return on those investments.
And that's awesome. And so the way to do that, I'm sorry, Tina, real fast, is through education that you all talked about, as well as mentorship, right? Did you have something, Tina?
Yeah, I do. I have to do this because whenever the Lord drops something in me, I have to actually say it, and it's actually for Marcella. When we were sitting here talking about the LinkedIn, everything, the image that came to me that they gave me was her actually sitting on LinkedIn with the quotes and wearing your suit. And in there, you know how people have the name of who it's by and design. That's exactly the vision I came. So I just had to say that because if something gets dropped in me when he does that, I have to always just deliver it.
Well, thank you for listening to the Lord. Keith.
Hence having a business mind. That's all I have to say.
That's right.
Mindset. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a mindset.
Yeah. That's it. Well, hey, I could talk all night. You guys have been giving just some great advice, great insight. We got to know a little bit about who you are as a person, but we do have to wrap it up. But I do want to hear from you one more time, your name, your business, and your genre. What's the...
Keith Garner, Business Minds, Menswear, Director of Partnership with Runway Dallas, and also work in admissions at Ogle School.
I am Tina Cummings, Title Tina. I am a registered trademark in the United States of America. And the Chief Marketing Officer and Partner of Experience, Title and Red Wine Law Firm.
Nice.
I love
So
that you're
fancy.
trademarked. That's so fancy. That's so fancy. I'm Carrie Haskins with Keller Williams. I am a real estate agent, business owner, and a coach.
Awesome. David Lee.
Hey, David Lee Richardson, Head of Organizational Leadership Development for Harris & Harris. I'm also an author. Actually have a #1 bestseller out on Amazon.
All right,
Sold
then.
in 7 different countries.
That's awesome. And the title of this book?
Oh, the book is on Christian leadership. The title of the book is Sunday Morning Stick Up. So,
Sunday Morning
Stick Up.
Stick Up. Oh, catchy. And alliteration. Love it. Thank you guys for being here. Let's give them a round of applause.